Sri Kasturi Ranganji and all my friends and sisters. I never expected this kind of a gathering, a very elite, learned gathering on a day like this, inclement weather, incessant rain. Despite that, so many people have turned up, and that shows your enthusiasm and interest in knowing about Gazulu Lakshminarasu Chetty and his work. Friends, I first heard about Lakshminarsu Chetty way back in 1995 when I read an article published in a Telugu cultural magazine called Misimi, published by Sri Alapati Ravindranath Chowdhury, if I am not wrong. And there, what interested me, and in fact what surprised me, was that this man was able to mobilize the support of over 75,000 people, collected their signatures and presented it to the powers that be of that time, and fought against the massive network of proselytization that was supported by the British officials, the traders, the administrators and the pastor network, the missionary network. Later, this book, particularly when I went through this book, there are several insights about Lakshminarsu Chetty, not just about Lakshminarsu Chetty, but also about the situation in Madras Presidency in those days. Dear friends, this story of Indian traders, entrepreneurs and businessmen has not been told properly. Not many of us study about them. Not many of us try to comprehend their contribution to the country. For instance, we never know the story of Lala Jagat Seth. Seths, there are three categories: Seth, Nagar Seth and Jagat Seth. Jagat Seth is considered to be the richest man. Lala Jagat Seth was the richest man who funded Clive Lloyd so that he could wage a war against Siraj-ud-Dawla. Because Siraj-ud-Dawla was a tormentor of the Hindu community in the hapless region of West Bengal. Even now we see West Bengal and East Bengal suffering under the yoke of fanatic fundamentalists. The same story. So Lala Jagat Seth supported Clive. Little did he realize that he was opening the floodgates to the arrival of the British tsunami, and how it overpowered us and then ruled us for over 200 years. Then there is this story of Seth Bhimji Parekh, who in 1675 went to England, purchased the first Indian printing machine, brought to India and wanted to publish literature about our Puranas, Shastras, Itihasa from Bombay in all Indian languages. He wanted to prepare the types for the letters for the press, and the Britishers have deceived him and he could not achieve it. That's a different matter, but Bhimji Parekh, a very intrepid entrepreneur who went all the way to England to do this. Then this Dahgaon Lakshminarayana of Karimnagar, he was a daily wager who went to the central provinces and Berar, which now part of it is Nagpur and Vidarbha region. He struck gold there. He became a rich entrepreneur, and when famine struck the central provinces, he opened all his treasures and emptied them in front of the British administrators so that they can take up welfare works. And for that, the Queen Victoria sent a special commendation letter to Dahgaon Lakshminarayan. His statue stands tall and proud right in front of the engineering college in Nagpur University even today. Then there is this story of Kovvuri Basivireddy Zamindar, a very interesting character. There are 20 Basivireddy Petas in West Godavari district alone. He was a philanthropist par excellence. The greatness of Basireddy Zamindar was that he wrote a letter to the Britishers saying that I would like to offer food to every train passenger who comes to Samalkot station in East Godavari district. And Samalkot thus became a junction where every train passenger of every train that comes from all the way from Calcutta, Jagdalpur, Bilaspur, Raipur, Delhi, so on and so forth, they were fed by Karri Basireddy Zamindar, and his chowl tree still stands there. The British government gave him a golden railway ticket so that whenever he produces the railway ticket, a special coach was arranged for him. That is Karri Basireddy Zamindar. And Gazulu Lakshminarasu Chetty also falls in this category, an intrepid entrepreneur who saw opportunity and who traded with the Britishers, who saw eye to eye with the Britishers, who not just traded with them, but he was ready to take on their might and fight for the rights of the natives, the Hindu people of Madras Presidency, which now is Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, part of Karnataka put together. But Narasu Chetty is not known just for his philanthropy and his trade, entrepreneurial skills, his business acumen. He was much more than that. Interestingly, Chetty, the word Chetty comes from the Sanskrit word Shreshti. Shreshti has become Chetty in Tamil Nadu, Shetty in Andhra Pradesh, Shetty in Karnataka, Sethi or Seth in North India. The root of the word is same. In this early parts of the 19th century, he mobilized the support of the local people against the proselytization activities of the Christians, which is a no mean achievement. A suppressed people, oppressed by the British authorities, the East India Company, he was able to mobilize support from the people and fought against conversions. Not just against conversions, he also fought against the torture that the British businessmen and their agents were perpetrating on the people of the Madras Presidency. Incidentally, not just Madras Presidency, the same kind of famine was faced in West Bengal, in central provinces, in Punjab and all parts of the country. In fact, British were responsible for over 33 massive genocidal famines which almost reduced the country's population by a third. Then, his work can be compared to the work that Kruttiventi Perraju Pantulu and Nyapati Subbarao did in Rajamandri. And everyone who fought for the natives or the local people, the Hindu population, they are organized in the name of Hindu. Nyapati Subbarao, who was instrumental in the founding of the Hindu magazine, he founded an organization called Hindu Samajam, which exists till today in Rajamandri. It's almost a 2-acre chunk of swath of land where a lot of activities take place. Same way, education was one area where the fight back of the local communities have happened. Bandar College, very interesting story about how the Hindu College of Bandar was formed. A man had a tiff with his wife. He wanted a particular kind of curry to be cooked. She refused. So he went to the church and he got converted. He became a Christian. The news spread like a wildfire, and the whole society in Bandar town was so agitated that the people came onto the streets, and the Tahsildar of that region, a Telugu speaking Tahsildar, he immediately, instantaneously resigned his job. He spread his Uttariyam on the street. He sat there and collected funds and started the Hindu College of Bandar. Same way, Narasu Chetty was instrumental in the founding of Pachayappa's College, where my Chitti, my Pinni, also studied and graduated. I visited the college when I was a young guy. Guntur also, you have a Hindu college, which was founded as a reaction as the people's answer to Andhra Christian Theological College, ACTC. Not many people know that the Hindu College of Bandar is a reaction of the people to the proselytizers. So, Narasu Chetty also worked for the emancipation, the religious, cultural and financial emancipation of the people of the Madras Presidency. And this has been ably brought out in this book, which would formally be inaugurated later in this program, but I am showing you so that you can get a feel of the personality, how you would imagine a man wearing the Tirunamams and the pagadi, going to the Britishers, interacting with them and convincing them or pressurizing them, acting as an lobbyist also. Friends, there is one point that I think we should all remember, that is the geographical boundaries that we see today are temporary. Madras and the Sarkars, the coastal Andhra Pradesh was one unit. There were many interfaces. Our culture is very unique. A Tulu speaking Raja founds an empire in Hampi, which is on the border of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. His kingdom extends to Karnataka and parts of Tamil Nadu, and then he encourages Telugu literature, he promotes the poetry, he himself writes Amukta Malyada. So, the geographical boundaries that we see today did not exist till 1950s. Similarly, a Maratha king who rules Tanjavur, which is part of Tamil Nadu, runs a library which has the largest collection of Telugu books, Saraswati Mahal Library. Saraswati. So, the geographical boundaries that we see today did not exist, and there were many interfaces where people from different languages used to come and meet. Lakshminarsu Chetty, who was a Telugu speaking person, ran a magazine or a periodical or a newspaper which had content in Telugu, Tamil, English and even Kannada. So, this is something very remarkable feature that we can find in this man. Interestingly, Jagannath ji, we are the same thing, that there is a huge Tamil population right here in Hyderabad, and the place where we are standing is represented by a Tamilian. The local MLA is Mr. Ganesh, who is a Tamilian. He represents the Secunderabad cantonment. We had the Alwal municipality till recently, as long as it was a municipality. The municipal chairperson's name was Jeevakan, who is from Tamil Nadu. And we had a huge Tamil population in Hyderabad. There is a lane called Kandaswamy Lane in Ramkot area, which is known for binding works. See, Narasu Chetty also started a printing press and a binding organization. Look at the kind of convergence. And there is an area in Hyderabad, Secunderabad called Padmarao Nagar. It is named after Raja Bahadur Padmarao Modaliyar, who was a minister in Nizam's government and who was instrumental in starting a school for boys much against the wishes of Nizam. And the name of the college is Mehboob College. It was Mehboob School, then it became Mehboob College. He named it after Mehboob, who is the father of Nizam, so that Nizam would not oppose. Tamilians are very clever people that way. And then he established a school for girls, and he named it after the military officer in the Secunderabad cantonment. His name was Keys. The name of the wife was Mrs. Keys. The name of the school is Keys High School, which is now a very big cultural center for the Tamil population in Hyderabad. So, there was intermixing of the population. So, Lakshminarsu Chetty also was a product of his times, where he was both with he was a Telugu working in Tamil Nadu, and then there are accounts of his tours across Tamil Nadu and as far as up to Rajamundry and East Godavari and West Godavari, for the sake of collection of and documentation for the torture commission that he had set up. So, Narsu Chetty that way has helped to build awareness through Indian Madras Crescent, which is a newspaper, started somewhere in 1830s, 1840s. Remember, that was 10 or 15 years before the 1857 War of Independence. Then he was an advocacy activist. He, unlike many of our nationalist activists who do not believe in documentation, हमारा काम बोलता है, documentation की क्या ज़रूरत है? This man believed in documentation. He documented each and every torture that the native people, the Hindu locals, have endured because of the illegal practices of the Britishers. He was an activist, he was a protester. He was instrumental in organizing what is known as Vibhuti protests. The Vibhuti protests, they would smear Vibhuti on the foreheads of the Christian missionaries when they came to preach. This was a revolt which started in those days, and though Narsu Chetty was not in the forefront, he was the inspirational figure for this movement too. So friends, before I wind up, I have a couple of points that I want to place before the people of this people in this hall. There is a great need to study about the figures of the pre-Dravidian politics in Tamil Nadu and Sarkars, which is the Andhra Pradesh of today. For instance, we all have seen the movie KGF. This is a story of a laborer who had made it big, and we have all watched it and we appreciated the action of that KGF hero, some Hegde, or I do not remember his name. Yash, okay. But the real KGF hero's name is Munuswamy, who was a daily wage laborer, who made it big. He started an organization, he set up a gold company. From a laborer he became an entrepreneur, and not just an entrepreneur, at the later stage of his life he takes sannyasa, becomes Swami Sahajananda, and represents Chidambaram till 1959 undefeated. We need to tell the story of Swami Sahajananda, a Dalit by today's standard, how he emancipated himself and how he made himself a revered figure. We also must talk about Madura Pillai and Bhuminayak and Ramanuja Dasar, who have worked in the KGF area, the Kolar Goldfield area, and have set up a gold company in Andhra Pradesh. MC Raja, how many of us remember MC Raja? MC Raja and Hindu Mahasabha leader Balakrishna Shivaram Munje, B.S. Munje, they entered into a pact so that there are reservations for the scheduled caste people, the people from the scheduled caste communities. This was different from Ambedkar's formula of separate electorate for the Dalits. He is the forerunner of the reservation system in the legislatures and the law-making houses that we have today. His story needs to be told. What about Muthuramalinga Devar, an associate of Subhash Chandra Bose? Subhash Chandra Bose went all the way from Kolkata to his place, I think Madurai, addressed a public meeting just for the sake of his friendship with Muthuramalinga Devar. Also, stories about the Devans of those regions need to be told. This book talks about the achievements of Purnaya, who was the Devan of Mysore. How he brought in education for the girl child way back in those days, almost 150 years ago. Mysore was one state, which was Mysore and Baroda were two states, where girl child education, women education was always encouraged. Mysore Maharaja was influenced by Purnaya and also Swami Vivekananda. So these stories, Nyapati Madhavrao, who was the Diwan of Mysore, Tanjavur Madhavrao, who was the Diwan of Travancore, also the story of Arcot Ramswamy Mudaliar and Arcot Lakshminarsu Mudaliar, both brothers, and the role they played in the integration of Lakshadweep in India. Sardar Patel writes to them, calls them up and asks them to go to Lakshadweep and hoist the flag of India before Pakistani Navy comes. They did not share the Congress party ideology, they were from the Justice Party. But despite political differences, when it came to the question of nationalism and country, they buried their differences and worked together. These stories need to be told, and unless we tell these stories, I think our CSIS or Dakshina Patha studies, I think they have their task cut out, and we need to tell these stories, and these stories must go to the nook and cranny of the society. In fact, the story of the freedom struggle in South India is also very important. When we talk about the Gadar party, we always talk about Kartar Singh Saraba, Lala Hardayal, Bhai Paramanand and Sohan Singh Bakna. We never talk about Darshi Chenchaya, who is from Darshi in Prakasham district, who was one of the founding members of the Gadar party. Same way, what about Vanchinathan? What about Shanbagaraman Pillai? Shanbagaraman Pillai is the person who has actually started the address, Jai Hind. It was later picked up by his friend Abid Hassan Zafrani, who is also from Hyderabad and a close associate of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. It was Zafrani who suggested that Jai Hind be used as the war cry for the Azad Hind Fauj. But behind Abid Hassan Zafrani is Shanbagaraman Pillai, who organized the Hindu youth, Indian youth in Zurich, in Switzerland, in all these Germany and all these parts. Even in Vienna. He passes away in Zurich after being poisoned by Hitler, and he tells his wife, who is an orphan from Manipur, that my ashes must be dispersed in a river near, I think that is Coimbatore or Kerala, Tambaram, close to Tirunelveli. And in 1960, on knowing about this, Indira Gandhi arranges for the ashes to be brought to Tambaram and then to be immersed. These stories, inspiring stories, need to be told. One interesting point about this book is that nowhere in this book, nowhere in this account, is there a mention of the Dravidian ideology. The author specifically, Jagannathji specifically mentions in one page that throughout this whole story, there is no mention of there is no Dravidian discourse at that point in time. Look at the words they used in this book. For example, he talks about an inspiring personality called Arunmuga Navalar, who is from essentially from Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka was till 1935 part of India. It was only in 1935 that Sri Lanka and Burma were separated from this country. That's a different story. He sets up a school in the Tamil parts of Sri Lanka. The name of the school, please listen to it, Shaiva Prakasha Vidya Shala. All the 4 letters, Sanskrit words. No Dravidian ideology. And there is a Sabha established by, promoted by Gazulu Lakshminarasu Chetty. The name of the Sabha is Madras Upayukta Grandha Karana Sabha. Upayukta Grandha Karana Sabha, not one word, every word is Sanskrit. How did Sanskrit disappear from the Tamil discourse? Is an issue that we need to ponder over. And there, when they wrote the dates, they specifically mentioned Kali Yugadi 4952. Kali Yugadi. I was introduced to Kali Yugadi in 1995 2000 when Moropanji Pingle started talking about Kali Yuga Abda. But way back in those days, in the 18th century or early parts of the 19th century, the people of Tamil Nadu were talking about Kali Yugadi, Anka Ganitam, Purnanka Ganitam. All these words are Sanskrit words. Where did Sanskrit disappear? One interesting name of a printing press that I found is Vidyanupalana Yantrashala. That was 18th century. Today there is a movie called Yantran, which is Robo of Rajinikanth. The spelling that is written is not Yantran, but the spelling is Endhiran. For a non-Tamil like me, it is Endiran. What is Endiran? It could be the sister of Indiran. That's the problem. So, even spellings were altered in such a way, Yantra became Endira. So, this story, this book actually talks about how this narrative, the original narrative of the 1830s, 1820s and early 19th century, and this original narrative needs to be brought back, and that is the task that we have cut out before us. And I personally feel this is a very important contribution, because unless we know about Gazulu Lakshminarasu Chetty, we will never know about how ordinary people fought against proselytization, how ordinary people were made part of the efforts to fight the conversion mafia, how an ordinary trader who was only interested in profits, losses, shares, debentures, who founded the first, Chamber of Commerce, Madras Chamber of Commerce, who was the founding member, but was still interested in the, immoral practices, inhuman practices of the British traders. The story of those tortures needs to be retold so that the present generation knows that, because we are now given to understand that Britishers are the biggest knowledge givers for the Indian society, and everything good that is good in Indian society has come from the Britishers. But this book dispels that wrong notion. So, I personally feel this is a great contribution, very well written, and he also talks about how Hindu, this Madras Native Association and the Hindu printing press was the forerunner for the Hindu magazine, Hindu newspaper rather. How this was a forerunner for Hindu. I think we need to make Hindu truly Hindu, and that is where our job lies. And I commend and congratulate and compliment Sri Jagannath ji for the hard work. I could see the hard work that he has put in. He must have spent hours in the archives department. People is so difficult. Archaeology department and archives department are the most insensitive people around, but he was able to get through those obstacles and publish this book and get this material out. And some of the accounts are truly very, very revealing. I suggest that you read this book, spread this, gift this book to your friends and make them read. And there should be discussions organized on what Gazulu Lakshminarasu Chetty could do in those days and what we can do today, given that we are very well equipped, the atmosphere is in our favor. So, our job, I think our current responsibilities, the first lessons for the present responsibility lies in this book. So, I strongly recommend, I forcefully recommend this book as a must read for every nationalist person. Dhanyavad, thank you so much if I have taken.